Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Streamed and Screened, an entertainment podcast about movies and TV from Lee Enterprises. I'm Terry Lipschutz, managing editor of the National Newsroom at Lee and co-host of the program with Bruce Miller, editor of the Sioux City Journal and a longtime entertainment reporter. Bruce, stay out of the water. It's dangerous.
I remember when it happened. When Jaws first came out in 1975, I went to it. And I can't swim. So you can imagine that was terrifying for me.
Oh.
And now it's celebrating its 50th year, and I'm still watching it.
It's such a classic.
There's a lot there to unpack. And, you know, I think we've mentioned this before, but it's considered, if you're doing film history, the first blockbuster. And that's because they never really planned for, they thought summer was kind of a drive-in movie time when you just go see the beach party movies or, you know, stupid things like that. And really all you were cared to do was like sit in the car and eat. Or other things. Yeah, and then when this hit, but you know, they so pre-sold it. And before Jaws came out, they started teasing it in the winter. And they weren't doing that at all with films. So that was one of the changes. And then it merchandised like crazy.
Yeah.
They had Jaws t-shirts, Jaws stickers, Jaws, it had everything. So the anticipation was so built up. And it was one of those few movies based on books that became much bigger than what they thought. It's going to come back to theaters in a huge new kind of reperked edition at the end of August and go through the first week of September. So you'll see it somewhere near you if you want to see it on a big screen. On television, there are a bunch of miniseries, documentaries, whatever you might call it. But there's only one that was authorized by Steven Spielberg that he would participate in. It's called Jaws at 50. They get everybody and their brother. The director of it, Laurent Bouzereau, has done like making of films for years on Spielberg films. So he has a little background in that. And fascinating to hear what he has to say about the film and kind of the things I was curious about and didn't see anybody else talking about it anywhere else. So I have an interview. Would you like to hear it?
Yeah, I'd love to hear it.
All right. This is Laurent Bouzereau, and he's the director of Jaws at 50. You've done so many features on Mr. Spielberg. You must know by now what the secret to success is. So what is that?
Oh my God, that's a loaded question. I think the secret to his success is really, first of all, no one understands filmmaking the way he does, and I think his humanity also is very deep, and therefore, even with a movie like Jaws that's designed to be potentially a B movie about a monster, you know, you see the humanity of Steven throughout. The scene where the Chief Brody gets slapped on the piers, and following that is Brody and his kid at the dinner table. Those are intimate moments that really underlines for me that this director, when I first saw his name 50 years ago, I was like, I want to move to America. I'm French. I was living in France. So you know, I think that the one thing that people don't necessarily realize, but it's there, is that Jaws is a people movie, you know, and it's relatable and therefore, you know, it feels extremely timeless to me. You know, so I think that's the secret to an incredible storyteller. And, you know, growing up in France, I didn't like French movies because they were very enigmatic to me. You were dropped into a story and there was no beginning and no ending, right? And I always felt that was extremely, you know, selfish. And I really aspire to a full-grown story with a beginning, middle, and end, and a journey that was making me a participant. You know, when he doesn't show the shark in in Jaws at the beginning, yes, the shark wasn't working, but the effect that not showing it stimulates your imagination, and you're fully participating to the action. So there's a lot of incredible, benchmark and lessons to get from if you want to be a storyteller.
Well, when you were interviewing people for this, did you ever think at some point this could have gone south? This really could have been a bomb? Or was there just something about it that, no, he just kept putting, everything into it and it had to be a success?
No, I mean, I just don't think you can ever predict if a movie at the end of the day is going to be a success or a bomb, or anything for that matter. But I think that Steven says it himself, when he was offered the possibility of quitting, he didn't want to quit, and he didn't quit. And I think that's a story of survival and a story of perseverance and a story of conviction and having a vision. And he said to the head of the studio at the time, he said, look, I know there's a great movie there. It's a rite of passage. Jaws was a rite of passage, really. If you survive the making of Jaws, you're in, and a great metaphor for art in general. But also the interesting thing, is that the story of Jaws, of the three men trying to slay the monster, slay the beast, is very much what was happening in the production, except it didn't work. So it was just an equal sort of fight on both sides. And one of those rare instances where the where the experience of making it is very much the experience of the actual story.
Why was there not we always talk about this as the first big blockbuster, summer blockbuster. Why was there no blockbuster before this? Was that just the way the system worked? That there weren't films that were kind of aimed toward the summer audience?
I don't know necessarily, I'm not a historian of the blockbuster era, but there were, I think the thing that's very unique about Jaws is the sort of suddenly cultural phenomenon that it became that made it a blockbuster. And that was the score. Everybody was humming it. Steven talks about being at Baskin Robbins and people singing Jaws. It was on Saturday Night Live. There were political cartoons to the point where Universal had to take out an ad with all the political cartoons and saying, it's also a movie. And merchandising. I mean, there was a book on the making of Jaws, which was not something that was necessarily done all the time. There was baseball caps and T-shirts and beach towels. People wanted to make a statement, that, and they wanted to own it as an experience and a shared experience at a time where the experience in the theater was a very unique thing. You would walk into a movie, you may have seen the trailer, you may have seen the poster or seen the lobby cards, but you didn't know anything. And there was something really magical to that. So when it was such a communal kind of experience where everybody was screaming at the same time and really laughing if there was a laugh or whatever, made this something that people wanted to share. And of course, this wave, so to speak, became something that George Lucas, 2 years later would ride on for Star Wars,
When you started thinking, who do I need to talk to? Were there people that you couldn't get? Were there ones who didn't really talk about it?
No, I mean, there's always the restriction of time. I had very little time to make the film. I wanted to do it right, and that meant a lot of editorial time. And so I was, kind of had blinders on, an incredible producing team, because I was filming in London, I was filming Martha's Vineyard, and then I was filming in New York, and then I was filming in LA. I mean, I was all over the place, and it was really stressful. So unfortunately, some people were not always available, but I think that I was relying also on the original interviews I had done with some of the cast members who were either passed away or not available at the moment that I needed them. But also I was lucky that Jim Cameron happened to be in town. Jordan Peele was available. When I was in London, Steven Spielberg was there. Guillermo del Toro was just back from doing Frankenstein. I mean, it was a supercharged kind of thing. But the people I really ultimately wanted was, aside from Steven himself, obviously, was that new generation of filmmakers, because Jaws is passed on, from generation to generation, and it's something that I wanted to highlight on this 50th anniversary, to say, well, all those filmmakers that we are awarded Oscars to today, all a debt of gratitude toward Jaws, and they're willing to talk about it. And all of them are saying it for a different reason, Guillermo is obsessed with the monsters, and Steven Soderbergh is obsessed with making movies really fast and economically. And here he is studying the call sheets and the schedule, going like, oh my God. And so it's really fun to talk to those people. And each of them brought in a new layer to my hopefully beautiful cake.
Well, what did Stephen think about sequels to the film? Was that something like, oh God, no, I don't want that? Or
well, after the success of Jaws, Stephen really wanted to realize his dream project, which was Close Encounters of the Third Kind. So immediately on the heels of Jaws, he was into that, and you'd have to ask him, but the sequels were not really in his orbit, or because the path of his storytelling was guiding him towards something else.
Sure. Well, I'm so glad you did this, because I have always loved Jaws. Back when I was a younger journalist, I did a story about what people ate at movies, and Jaws was included in that, because if you go to a blockbuster, they'll eat everything. But if you go to a drama, they won't eat anything. And all those years, I've been trying to figure all this out. But thank you for filling in the gaps for me, because I sure appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Bruce. Have a great summer.
You too. Yeah, just stay out of the water.
Yeah.
Thanks, Bruce, for that interview. Sounds fascinating. I definitely want to check it out. Recently we watched it. That was kind of part of our required viewing with the kids, was busting out Jaws.
And what did they think?
They thought it was so cheesy. It looks so fake. It does.
Poor Bruce the shark.
Oh yeah, they did.
Well, if you took them to the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences Museum, they are doing a special exhibit that shows a lot of the props and stuff, and the real, or one of the Bruce sharks. That was the name of it. It was named after Spielberg's lawyer, Bruce, is hanging in the lobby, and everybody can see that if you happen to like it. But what's strange is that one of the big movies this summer, Jurassic World Rebirth, makes reference to Jaws in the course of it.
Yeah, that's nice. And that's, and it's, I guess, in some ways fitting, because Jurassic Park and that franchise has in many ways continued the legacy of just big summer blockbuster, because that's really when I think most of them have come out for that franchise in the summer.
Coverage varies by plan. View contracts and exclusions at endurancewarranty.com.
If you're driving a car or truck with an expired warranty and suddenly lost your transmission or needed a full engine repair, would a $4,000 repair bill leave you stranded? I'm Danica Patrick. Don't get caught off guard with a vehicle breakdown. Choose the company I trust, Endurance. No matter the mileage, if your vehicle is less than 20 years old, Endurance offers comprehensive auto protection plans for any budget. Protection on the drivetrain, electrical, transmission, AC, and more. Plus, benefits like 24/7 roadside assistance and rental car reimbursement on any plan. Endurance handles everything, from making the claim, through the repair process, to paying the certified mechanic of your choice. Don't get caught off guard with a vehicle breakdown. Act now and get 1 full year of elite benefits. A $2,000 value, free.
Visit EnduranceWarranty.com for your fast free quote today. That's EnduranceWarranty.com.
The Avengers had a real big run in recent years, and then they've kind of stumbled. And so now we're looking at other things. We've got Superman coming
Yep.
You know, there are big things at F1.
Yeah.
They're all kind of testing the waters, so to speak, of all of these old films that worked. So we'll see what really catches hold during the summer. They're all doing well at the box office.
Yeah. I know F1 looks good too. I've heard some good things about it. I haven't had a chance to see it yet, but from what I'm hearing, it was really well. And there sounds like there might already be talks of a sequel to that one.
Oh, well, and if you go, watch it on the biggest screen possible.
Okay.
Because if you can do it in IMAX, do it in IMAX. Because it really, when you get into that car, you get in the car basically with Brad Pitt at several points. And you go, yeah, this seems like I'm there right there.
Yeah. Now there's talk with that sequel that it might bring Brad Pitt together with Tom Cruise.
That they would do a race car thing. Yeah.
Right. And he would reprise his role. I think it was Cole Trickle was his name in Days of Thunder.
Okay.
And, you know, and he's still racing, and I guess he decides to hop from NASCAR to F1 or something like that. So that would be interesting.
But would they do it? I don't know if they get along. Have we ever heard that they were friends? Because I never see either in their friend groups, you know?
Yeah, they were in the last movie they did together, I think, was Interview with a Vampire, and that was forever ago.
That was a long time ago. Like, did it go well? Are you friendly with each other? Or do you say, enough of that guy, I don't want him anymore, and I don't have to?
Yeah. Does Tom Cruise send Brad Pitt a bunt cake?
It's
Have you heard about that?
It's that coconut cake that he sends
coconut
him.
Cake, right? Yeah. So if you get a coconut cake, then you're cool. So I don't know.
Did you get yours last year?
I did not.
I'm sorry.
We're both from Jersey too.
Well, you know, all he has to do is just say to the list people, send them out just like last year, and half of them could be dead. And so they have cakes that are just going wanting.
That's right. Now, the interesting thing with Jaws, though, even though my kids thought the movie was kind of lame, it did get in their heads a little bit because we were just in Florida for a little family vacation. And we did 3 days at Disney. We did 2 days at Universal. In between, we took a little break from the theme parks and drove out to the Kennedy Space Center and checked that stuff out, and then went to the beach. I think we were in Cocoa Beach. And
they wouldn't go in the water.
They were like, no, we're not going to. There's like sharks, there's jellyfish. And I'm like, well, hold on a second, because I grew up near the ocean. Like, first off, the jellyfish, you can see them. I mean, if there's jellyfish around, they're just floating around. Like, if you see something that looks like a garbage bag floating in the water, don't touch it. Get away from it.
I'm just a jellyfish.
Right. If you see a jellyfish, just don't touch it. That's like the best advice you can give somebody. And the sharks, I mean, are there sharks in the ocean? Yes. Do they routinely come up on shore near people? No, they do not. You have to go kind of out a little bit. And as long as you're not on a surfboard with your legs, you know, flapping around, making yourself look like a seal. At midnight, in all my years going to the beach when I lived in Jersey, I don't ever remember even a warning of like there's sharks in the area. I mean, it happens every once in a while, but it's not a thing.
So still don't go in. I don't need you to be gone.
Yeah, they did. We so they got their suits on, and you know, we'll put our feet in the water, and the next thing you know, they're both like diving around in the ocean. It's just like, because you get there and it's fun, right?
Do you remember how we would play Jaws, where you would like pretend like there was? Yes,
that's right. You would put your hands together over your head and pretend that was a fin and go swimming around. So
the good old days when we made our own fun.
That's right. So what do we have coming up next week?
Oh, we've got a huge mini series. It's a big one on Hulu, and it took an enormous amount of attention to get it done. It's called Washington Black, and it's about a young boy growing up in slavery, and then how he comes into his own. And we've got some of the people that are available from the film talking about it. So, yeah, it's going to be a big one. If you're staying home, Washington Black is a must.
All right, there you go. So we'll go. Do not fear getting into the water. Number one.
No, and if you want to play those notes on a piano, E and F.
E and F.
Boom, 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 and then just keep. You'll drive somebody crazy at home, and they'll tell you, "All right, shut it down."
There you go.
This is I've personal experience.
There you go. All right. Well, on that note,
There you go.
On that note, we will be back again next week with another episode of Stream and Screen.